I used to joke that my husband would die before he ever lied to me. That joke stopped being funny at 2:13 a.m. because that was the exact time his phone lit up beside me in the dark. And a message appeared from a contact named, "Don't tell your wife." My entire body went cold. Not angry at first. Just cold. Like something inside me already knew the marriage was over before my brain could catch up. I stared at the screen while he slept beside me. Peaceful. Breathing softly. One arm still wrapped around my waist like he loved me. Like I was safe. The message disappeared before I could fully read it. And for the first time in 8 years, I wanted to open his phone. If you've ever ignored a gut feeling because you loved someone too much, this story is going to hurt. Because I ignored mine for years. And by the time I finally looked, I found something that destroyed me. My name is Ava. I'm 32. And until 6 months ago, I thought I had the kind of marriage people envied. We lived in a quiet suburb outside Chicago. Nice house. Golden retriever. Joint Spotify account. Sunday Costco trips. The whole fake American dream starter pack. My husband, Ethan, worked in corporate finance. Quiet guy. Funny in a dry way. Never raised his voice. The kind of man my friends called safe. That word makes me sick. Because safe men don't make you slowly lose your mind. Safe men don't rewrite reality until you start apologizing for things that were never your fault. But I didn't see it there. I loved him. God. I loved him in the pathetic, terrifying way women sometimes love men who become their entire emotional atmosphere. Everything in my life revolved around his needs. If he was happy, the whole house felt warm. If he went quiet, I felt panic in my chest instantly. I didn't even realize how dependent I'd become until later. Back then, I thought that was marriage. Compromise. Patience. Understanding. Especially because Ethan had this way of making every concern sound irrational. Like one night at dinner. I remember it perfectly. I made pasta. Candles lit. Wine poured. I was trying to reconnect because lately he'd been distant. Always on his phone. Always exhausted. Always working late. He barely touched his food. You okay? I asked carefully. Yeah. You seem stressed. I'm fine, Ava. Short answers. Cold tone. I felt that familiar knot in my stomach. You've just been kind of far away lately. He sighed immediately. Not dramatic. Worse. Disappointed. Like I was exhausted. I work 12-hour days, he said. Can I exist for 5 minutes without being interrogated? That word hit me hard. Interrogated. Suddenly I felt guilty. I wasn't interrogating you. You kind of did. I was just asking if you were okay. And I said yes. Silence. Heavy silence. Then he grabbed his plate and said, I can't do this tonight. Do this. Like loving him was some unbearable burden. I sat there alone while the candles burned out beside me. And the worst part? I apologized. I actually followed him upstairs and apologized. That's how it started. Tiny moments. Tiny humiliations. Tiny emotional cuts. Nothing dramatic enough to call abuse. Just enough to slowly destroy your confidence. A month later, things got stranger. He started taking his phone everywhere. Bathroom. Shower. Even taking out the trash. One night I laughed about it. Are you secretly Batman or something? I expected him to laugh too. Instead, his face hardened instantly. Why are you always watching me? My stomach dropped. What? You're constantly tracking what I'm doing. That's not true. It is. I remember blinking at him because I genuinely felt confused. I made a joke. Yeah, well, it wasn't funny. Then he walked away. And somehow, I ended up feeling like I'd done something wrong again. That became the pattern. Every concern I raised turned into evidence that I was too emotional, too suspicious, too sensitive, too needy. And eventually, I stopped bringing things up altogether. Because peace became addictive. Even fake peace. Especially fake peace. Then came Madison, his coworker. The first time I heard her name was at a company Christmas party. Tall blonde woman. Perfect teeth. Perfect skin. Perfect fake laugh. The kind of woman who makes every wife quietly sit up straighter. Ethan introduced us casually. This is Madison. She smiled at me for half a second too long. Oh my God, she said. I've heard so much about you. Something about the way she said it made my skin crawl. Too familiar. Too comfortable. Like she already knew intimate details about my life. I forced a smile. Hopefully good things. Ethan laughed quickly. Mostly complaints. Everyone laughed. Including me. But that joke stayed with me for weeks. Mostly complaints. Why would he say that? Why did it hurt so much? And why did Madison look so amused afterward? The rest of the night felt wrong. I'd catch them making eye contact across the room. Little private smiles. Tiny pauses in conversation when I walked over. Nothing concrete. Nothing provable. Just enough to make me feel crazy. Which was becoming a full-time job. 3 weeks later, Ethan came home smelling like women's perfume. Not subtle perfume. Strong perfume. Sweet. Vanilla and jasmine. I noticed it the second he hugged me. You smell different. His entire body stiffened. For literally 1 second. Then he laughed. That's weird. Were you around someone wearing perfume? I was in an office building, Ava. Humans exist there. Again. That tone. That subtle implication that I was ridiculous. I tried to let it go. I really did. But later that night, while he slept, I cried quietly in the bathroom because I didn't recognize myself anymore. I used to be confident. Independent. Funny. Now I analyzed every sentence my husband said like a hostage negotiator trying to avoid conflict. And somehow, I still believed losing him would destroy me. That's the sick part. When someone slowly emotionally starves you, you become grateful for crumbs. Then my birthday happened. That was the night something inside me truly cracked. Ethan promised he'd be home by 7. We had reservations at my favorite restaurant downtown. I bought a new dress. Did my makeup. Curled my hair. I remember standing in front of the mirror thinking, maybe tonight feels normal again. Maybe I'm overthinking everything. At 6:42 p.m., he texted. Running late. Don't be mad. At 7:15. Still stuck at office. At 8:03. Just go without me. I stared at that message for a long time. Then I called him. No answer. Again. No answer. Again. Straight to voicemail. I sat alone in our dining room wearing heels and lipstick until almost 10 o'clock. Like an idiot. When he finally walked in, he looked irritated. Not guilty. I'll never forget that part. He tossed his keys on the counter. You're still awake? I actually laughed. Not because anything was funny. Because I genuinely couldn't believe him. It's my birthday. I know. You disappeared. I told you I was working. You ignored my calls. Because I was busy. Until 10:30? He sighed dramatically. Ava, I'm exhausted. I stared at him. You forgot my birthday. No, I didn't. You left me alone all night. I said we could celebrate this weekend. Why are you acting like this isn't hurtful? And then he said the sentence that replayed in my head for months. Everything hurts your feelings. Silence. God. That silence afterward. Because deep down, a tiny broken part of me wondered if he was right. Maybe I was too emotional. Maybe I expected too much. Maybe love wasn't supposed to feel safe all the time. That's how manipulation works. Not by controlling your actions first. By controlling your interpretation of pain. 2 days later, I found a receipt in his jacket pocket. A restaurant receipt. Expensive steakhouse downtown. The same night as my birthday. 2 entrees. 2 wines. Chocolate cake. Table for 2. My hand started shaking instantly. When he got home, I tried to stay calm. I even rehearsed the conversation beforehand because I was terrified of sounding crazy. I held up the receipt carefully. What's this? One glance. That's all it took. One glance before his expression changed completely. Not fear. Annoyance. You went through my pockets? My heart dropped immediately. I wasn't going through your pockets, I was doing laundry. That's still invasive. Invasive? You clearly don't trust me. I found a dinner receipt for my birthday. It was a client dinner. Then why didn't you tell me? Because I knew you'd react like this. There it was again. My reaction becoming the issue instead of his behavior. I hated how effective it was. Because within minutes, I wasn't even focused on the receipt anymore. I was focused on calming him down. Keeping him from shutting down emotionally. Keeping him from sleeping in the guest room again. That night, he barely touched me in bed. And somehow that hurt worse than the fighting. Because emotional withdrawal became punishment. He knew it. And eventually, I knew it too. Then came the nightmare that changed everything. I woke up at 3 a.m. thirsty. Ethan wasn't in bed. I heard his voice downstairs. Quiet. Whispering. I walked halfway down the stairs before freezing. He was smiling. Not normal smiling. Soft smiling. Intimate smiling. The kind of smile people wear when they're in love. I don't know why. But I hid. Actually hid behind the wall listening to my own husband. Yeah, he whispered. She's asleep. My chest tightened so hard I thought I'd pass out. Pause. Then a quiet laugh. No, she has no idea. I physically stopped breathing. I remember gripping the staircase so hard my nails bent backward. Then he said, I miss you too. I felt something collapse inside me. Not heartbreak. Not yet. Something worse. The terrifying realization that your reality might not be real at all. I backed upstairs before he saw me. Slid into bed. Pretended to be asleep. A few minutes later, he climbed in beside me. And kissed my shoulder. That almost broke me more than the phone call. Because it felt rehearsed. Mechanical. Like guilt management. I lay there in the dark while he wrapped his arm around me. And for the first time in our marriage, I felt afraid of him. The next morning, he acted completely normal. Made coffee. Kissed my forehead. Asked if I wanted pancakes. Pancakes. I remember staring at him thinking, who the hell are you? But I said nothing. Because I needed proof. Real proof. Not feelings. Not instincts. Proof. And that terrified me. Because deep down, I already knew what I was going to find. Over the next 2 weeks, the tension became unbearable. He started locking his phone constantly, tilting the screen away from me, smiling at texts late at night. Sometimes I'd catch him staring at me strangely, almost cautiously, like he was checking whether I knew something. And my anxiety got so bad I stopped sleeping properly. I'd lie awake beside him listening to every notification vibration, every breath, every movement. I became obsessed. Not with catching him cheating, with understanding how long I'd been living inside a lie. Then came the dinner with my sister. Worst night of my life. We were at a little Italian place near downtown. Halfway through dinner, my sister looked at Ethan and laughed. So, who's Madison? The entire table froze. Ethan's fork stopped moving instantly. I felt my stomach flip. What? My sister looked confused. Oh. I thought you told her already. Told me what? Ethan's face changed color. What are you talking about? She blinked. At the fundraiser last month. People thought you two were together. Silence. Pure silence. I looked at Ethan. He wouldn't look at me. My pulse started hammering violently. What does that mean? My sister immediately realized something was wrong. Oh my God. Ethan forced a laugh. It was a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding? I whispered. Can we not do this here? There it was again. Do this. Like my pain was inconvenience. Like humiliation was bad manners. I spent the entire drive home staring out the window while he kept sighing aggressively behind the wheel. Finally he snapped. You embarrassed me tonight. I turned slowly. I embarrassed you? Yes. You have another woman hanging around you at work and I embarrassed you? You're spiraling. That word. Spiraling. Like my reality was a mental illness. You lied to me. I didn't lie. Then tell me the truth. Silence. Just silence. And somehow, that silence felt more horrifying than any confession could have been. When we got home, he went straight upstairs. I stayed in the kitchen shaking so hard I could barely breathe. Then I heard it. The shower turning on upstairs. And his phone buzzing on the counter beside me. Screen glowing.